1. Overview of the crash. On a tragic Sunday morning, a Jeju Air Boeing 737-800 flight traveling from Bangkok, Thailand to South Korea ended in disaster at Muan International Airport. The crash, which occurred at 9:03 a.m. local time, 03 GMT, resulted in the loss of 179 lives, marking one of the deadliest aviation accidents in South Korea's history. The incident left only 2 survivors, both of whom are currently receiving medical treatment for severe injuries. The flight carried 181 people, comprising 175 passengers and 6 crew members. What began as a routine international journey ended in catastrophic failure, leaving families and the nation in mourning. This devastating accident has sent shockwaves through the aviation industry and raised critical questions about airline safety protocols, landing procedures, and responses to emergencies. Jeju Air, a leading low-cost carrier in South Korea, had previously been recognized for its strong safety record. This incident marks the airline's first fatal crash, highlighting the unpredictable nature of aviation disasters. 2. Details of the incident. The flight departed from Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi Airport in the early hours of Sunday morning. Weather reports indicated light rain and intermittent crosswinds, but nothing that would typically hinder a landing. However, as the plane approached Muan International Airport, a series of unforeseen complications arose, culminating in tragedy. Upon descent, the Boeing 737-800 encountered a malfunction in its landing gear. Passengers reported hearing unusual sounds and feeling irregular movements as the plane prepared to touch down. Witnesses at the airport described seeing the airport approaching the runway at an odd angle, sparking immediate concern. As the plane made contact with the runway, the malfunction became apparent. The landing gear failed to deploy correctly, causing the aircraft to skid on its belly. Sparks flew as the plane scraped along the runway, and a burst of thick smoke began to emanate from the engines. Within seconds, the situation escalated further. The aircraft collided with a concrete barrier at the end of the runway, triggering a massive explosion and fire. The impact was so severe that many passengers were ejected from the aircraft, while others were trapped inside the burning cabin. The fire, fueled by the plane's fuel tanks, engulfed the fuselage in a matter of seconds. Emergency response teams were deployed almost immediately, but the intensity of the flames and the extensive damage to the aircraft made rescue efforts exceedingly challenging. Out of the 181 people on board, only 2, a flight attendant and a passenger, were found alive. Both were rescued from the wreckage and rushed to a nearby hospital, where they remain in critical condition. 3. Suspected causes. As investigators work to determine the cause of the crash, preliminary reports suggest a combination of factors contributed to the disaster. One of the key suspects is a bird strike, a common but potentially catastrophic event in aviation. 3 minutes before the attempted landing, a bird strike warning was issued for the Muan International Airport area. Such warnings are critical, as birds can be ingested into an aircraft's engines, causing mechanical failure. In this case, investigators believe that one or both engines may have been compromised by a bird strike, reducing the pilot's ability to control the aircraft during the final approach. Adverse weather conditions further complicated the situation. Crosswinds and rain created additional challenges for the pilots, who were already grappling with the landing gear malfunction. The combination of these factors may have overwhelmed the crew, leaving them with limited options to execute a safe landing. The malfunctioning landing gear has also raised questions about the aircraft's maintenance history. The Boeing 737-800 is one of the most widely used models in the aviation industry, known for its reliability. However, mechanical issues can arise due to wear and tear, improper maintenance, or manufacturing defects. Investigators are scrutinizing the maintenance logs for the aircraft to determine whether any red flags were missed before the flight. 4. Emergency response and rescue efforts. The South Korean government mobilized a swift and comprehensive response to the crash. Firefighters, paramedics, and aviation specialists were dispatched to the scene within minutes of the incident. Despite their efforts, the scale of the fire and the extensive damage to the aircraft made rescue operations exceptionally difficult. Rescue teams worked tirelessly to extinguish the flames, which raged for over an hour before being brought under control. The intensity of the fire left much of the plane's structure charred and unrecognizable, complicating efforts to recover bodies and identify the victims. Emergency services transported the 2 survivors to a nearby hospital where they are undergoing intensive medical treatment. Their accounts are expected to play a crucial role in the investigation, as they may provide insights into the final moments of the flight. Acting President Choi Sang-mok convened an emergency meeting to oversee the government's response to the tragedy. No words of consolation would suffice for the bereaved families who have suffered this tragedy, he said in a statement. The government has pledged to dedicate all available resources to support the victims' families and uncover the causes of the crash. 5. Aviation safety concerns. This incident has reignited concerns about aviation safety, particularly in relation to bird strikes and mechanical failures. While modern aircraft are designed to withstand numerous challenges, this tragedy highlights the importance of rigorous safety protocols and preventive measures. Bird strikes, though relatively rare, pose a significant risk to aviation. In this case, the suspected bird strike appears to have had catastrophic consequences, underscoring the need for effective bird management strategies around airports. Additionally, the malfunctioning landing gear has raised questions about the adequacy of pre-flight inspections and maintenance procedures. The investigation will likely prompt airlines worldwide to reevaluate their safety practices to prevent similar incidents in the future. 6. Global reactions and condolences. The tragedy has drawn condolences from leaders and organizations worldwide. Acting President Choi Sang-mok expressed his profound sorrow and pledged government support for the affected families. International leaders, including Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, also extended their sympathies. Jeju Air has issued an official apology, promising full cooperation with the investigation and support for the victims' families. Boeing, the aircraft manufacturer, has also expressed its condolences and offered technical assistance to aid the inquiry. 7. The broader context of 2024 aviation disasters. The Jeju Air crash is the latest in a series of aviation disasters in 2024, a year that has seen an alarming number of fatal incidents. From Brazil to Kazakhstan and Nepal, these tragedies have underscored the inherent risks of air travel and the need for continuous improvement in safety standards. Emergency response. South Korea's government acted swiftly in the aftermath of the crash, launching a full-scale emergency response operation to address the catastrophic incident at Muan International Airport. Within minutes of the crash, emergency services including firefighters, paramedics, and specialized aviation rescue teams were dispatched to the scene. Their prompt arrival underscored the nation's commitment to minimizing the impact of aviation disasters. But the sheer scale of the fire and destruction posed immense challenges. As the Boeing 737-800 burst into flames following the impact, thick black smoke billowed into the sky, visible for miles. Firefighting crews worked tirelessly to contain the blaze, which was fueled by the plane's fuel tanks and the remnants of the wreckage. Despite their best efforts, the fire raged for over an hour, consuming much of the aircraft and leaving large portions of the fuselage completely charred. Paramedics and first responders faced a grim task of sifting through the wreckage in search of survivors. The extreme heat and structural instability of the debris hindered their efforts, forcing them to proceed cautiously to avoid further casualties. Rescue operations were complicated by the explosion's aftermath, which had scattered debris across a wide area. Authorities quickly set up an emergency command center at Muan International Airport to coordinate the response. Acting President Choi Sang-mok, who was briefed on the incident within minutes of its occurrence, took charge of overseeing the rescue and recovery operations. In a televised address, he expressed deep condolences to the families of the victims and pledged the government's unwavering support in managing the crisis. "This is a tragedy that has shaken our nation to its core," Choi said. We will spare no effort to support the victims' families, uncover the truth behind this incident, and ensure that such a disaster never occurs again. South Korean air traffic authorities immediately suspended all flights to and from Muan International Airport to allow rescue teams to operate without hindrance. The airport was turned into a hub of activity, with dozens of emergency vehicles, helicopters, and personnel working around the clock. Specialized rescue units were called in to handle the complex operation. These teams, trained to respond to aviation disasters, focused on stabilizing the crash site and conducting thorough searches for survivors and remains. The intensity of the fire and the extent of the destruction meant that much of the recovery effort would involve painstakingly combing through the wreckage piece by piece. Volunteer organizations and local communities also rallied to provide support. Emergency shelters were set up near the airport to accommodate grieving families, offering counseling services and a space for loved ones to await news. The Red Cross and other humanitarian organizations worked alongside government agencies to distribute food, blankets, and medical supplies to those affected. Survivors and fatalities? The crash of Jeju Air Flight 178 stands as one of the deadliest aviation accidents in South Korea's history, with a staggering loss of 179 lives out of the 181 passengers and crew members on board. Only 2 survivors, a flight attendant and a passenger, were pulled from the wreckage alive, their survival a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the dedication of the rescue teams. Both survivors were discovered in critical condition and were immediately airlifted to a nearby hospital. The flight attendant, identified as 29-year-old Kim Ji-eun, sustained severe burns and multiple fractures. Her quick thinking during the emergency reportedly helped save the passenger, a 34-year-old man named Park Min-soo, who was seated near one of the emergency exits. Park is currently undergoing treatment for smoke inhalation and traumatic injuries. The harrowing ordeal of these 2 individuals has captured the attention of the nation, with many expressing hope for their recovery. Medical teams have been working tirelessly to stabilize them, while psychologists and trauma specialists have been brought in to provide emotional support. For the families of the other 179 victims, the news has been devastating. Recovery teams have been working methodically to identify remains and return them to their loved ones. However, the process has been slow and arduous due to the extensive damage caused by the fire. DNA testing is being used to assist with identification, a process that could take weeks or even months. The victims include a diverse group of individuals, students, families, and business travelers, whose lives were tragically cut short. Among them was a group of South Korean students returning from a cultural exchange program in Thailand, as well as a Thai family traveling to South Korea for a vacation. The breadth of the loss has left a deep emotional impact not only on the victims' families, but also on the broader community. 6. National mourning and international reactions. The tragedy has plunged South Korea into a state of mourning. Memorial services are being planned across the country to honor the lives lost, with many citizens leaving flowers and messages of condolence at makeshift memorials near Muan International Airport. Internationally, the crash has drawn widespread sympathy and support. Leaders from around the world, including U.S. President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, have sent messages of condolence to the South Korean government and the victims' families. The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres also expressed his solidarity, emphasizing the importance of global cooperation in enhancing aviation safety. Jeju Air, the airline at the center of the tragedy, has issued a heartfelt apology, promising full transparency in the investigation and comprehensive support for the victims' families. "We are deeply sorry for this unimaginable loss," the airline said in a statement. "We are committed to understanding the causes of this tragedy and ensuring that such an event never happens again." Boeing, the manufacturer of the 737-800 aircraft, has also pledged its support for the investigation. In a statement, the company expressed its condolences and assured the public of its commitment to safety. 7. The long road ahead. As South Korea grapples with the aftermath of this disaster, attention has turned to the broader implications for aviation safety. Investigations are ongoing to determine the exact sequence of events that led to the crash, with the aim of preventing future tragedies. For the families of the victims, the pain is immeasurable. Counseling services have been made available to help them cope with their loss, and community leaders are working to ensure that their needs are met in the coming months. The survivors, too, face a long journey of recovery, both physical and emotional. Their experiences will likely provide crucial insights into the final moments of the flight, contributing to the investigation and potentially saving lives in the future. As the nation mourns, the memory of Jeju Air Flight 178 serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of vigilance in ensuring aviation safety. Footage and eyewitness account. The crash of Jeju Air Flight 178 has been further illuminated by dramatic footage captured on security cameras and bystanders' mobile phones. The chilling videos show the Boeing 737-800 skidding across the runway at Muan International Airport on its belly. Sparks and flames trailed behind the aircraft as it lost control, and thick plumes of smoke enveloped the scene within moments of the collision. The sheer violence of the impact was evident as the plane smashed into a barrier at the runway's end, igniting a massive fireball that consumed much of the fuselage. Eyewitnesses described the horrifying events with palpable emotion. A ground staff member working at the airport who had a direct view of the crash recounted the moment the aircraft made contact with the runway. The plane came in fast and unusually low. It looked like the landing gear wasn't deployed properly. There was a screeching noise followed by a deafening crash. Flames erupted almost instantly, and the smoke was so thick it was impossible to see the tail of the plane anymore. Another eyewitness, a taxi driver waiting near the airport's arrivals area, said he initially thought the explosion was a bomb. "I saw people running and screaming, and then I noticed the massive fire near the runway. It was chaos. Emergency vehicles started arriving within minutes, but it felt like an eternity." The crash site quickly became a scene of despair and urgency. Rescuers faced immense challenges as the intense heat and thick smoke limited visibility and accessibility. The aircraft's wreckage was scattered across a large area, complicating efforts to locate survivors and recover victims. Firefighters worked tirelessly to control the flames, but the fire's ferocity meant it took over an hour to extinguish completely. The devastating impact also made the identification of victims exceedingly difficult. Most bodies were severely burned, requiring forensic teams to rely on dental records, DNA testing, and personal belongings to confirm identities. Family members waiting for news were visibly distraught, with many collapsing in tears upon learning the fate of their loved ones. Aviation analysts have emphasized the significance of the video footage in piecing together the sequence of events leading up to the crash. The recordings will be thoroughly analyzed by investigators to determine whether the landing gear malfunction, suspected bird strike, or adverse weather conditions played a more prominent role in the tragedy. 7. Global reactions. The tragedy of Jeju Air Flight 178 has resonated far beyond South Korea's borders, drawing widespread attention and condolences from world leaders, international organizations, and aviation experts. Nations around the globe expressed solidarity with South Korea during this time of mourning, emphasizing the shared importance of ensuring the safety of air travel. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was among the first world leaders to extend condolences. In a heartfelt message, he stated, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of South Korea during this time of immense grief. The loss of so many lives is a tragedy that transcends borders, and Pakistan stands in solidarity with the victims' families and the South Korean nation." The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres also expressed his sorrow, highlighting the universal nature of the loss. This tragic event serves as a reminder of the fragility of life and the collective responsibility of nations to ensure safer skies for all, Guterres said in a statement. In the aviation community, the crash has sparked renewed calls for stricter safety protocols, particularly concerning the risks associated with bird strikes and landing gear malfunctions. Experts have pointed out that while modern aircraft are designed to withstand significant stress, external factors like weather conditions and wildlife pose unpredictable challenges. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, has pledged to work with South Korean authorities to review existing safety measures and recommend improvements where necessary. ICAO Secretary General Juan Carlos Salazar emphasized the importance of international cooperation in preventing future accidents. Every aviation disaster offers lessons that must be learned and applied. By sharing knowledge and implementing best practices, we can reduce the likelihood of such tragedies occurring again. The crash has also prompted discussions about the role of advanced technology in mitigating aviation risks. Experts have suggested that more robust bird detection and deterrent systems, along with enhanced monitoring of landing gear operations, could significantly improve safety outcomes. Some have even advocated for incorporating artificial intelligence into flight systems to provide real-time risk assessments and automated decision-making during emergencies. Social media platforms have become a space for collective mourning and reflection. The hashtags Jeju Air 10178 and Muan Tragedy have trended globally, with users sharing their condolences, personal stories, and thoughts on aviation safety. Memorials have been set up online to honor the victims, and thousands of messages of support have poured in for the survivors and their families. In South Korea, the tragedy has reignited conversations about the country's aviation safety standards. While the nation has a strong track record of safe air travel, this incident has exposed potential vulnerabilities that must be addressed. Lawmakers and industry leaders are already calling for a comprehensive review of aviation policies, including stricter enforcement of maintenance protocols and better training for emergency scenarios. 8. Lessons for the future. The crash of Jeju Air Flight 178 has cast a long shadow over South Korea and the global aviation community. As investigations continue and the nation mourns, attention has turned to the lessons that can be drawn from this tragedy. The incident has underscored the critical importance of proactive safety measures in preventing aviation disasters. From improved wildlife management systems to advanced monitoring technologies, there is a pressing need for innovation and vigilance in addressing the myriad risks that modern aircraft face. For the victims' families, the loss is irreplaceable, but their grief has spurred a national conversation about accountability and reform. Advocacy groups are urging the government and aviation industry to prioritize transparency in the investigation and to implement meaningful changes based on its findings. The survivors, too, face a long journey of healing and recovery. Their stories of resilience have inspired many, serving as a poignant reminder of the strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. As the world reflects on the tragedy of Jeju Air Flight 178, the hope remains that its legacy will be one of progress and prevention, a turning point that ensures safer skies for generations to come. Jeju Air's safety record. The crash of Flight 178 represents a heartbreaking milestone in Jeju Air's history, as it is the airline's first fatal accident since its establishment in 2005. For nearly 2 decades, Jeju Air has cultivated a reputation as one of South Korea's leading low-cost carriers, known for its operational efficiency and commitment to passenger safety. The airline has consistently adhered to international aviation standards and undergone rigorous safety audits, making this tragedy an unexpected and devastating blow to its legacy. Jeju Air's strong safety record has been a cornerstone of its branding and growth strategy. Over the years, it has expanded operations across Asia, connecting South Korea to major cities in Japan, China, the Philippines, Thailand, and other countries. The airline's fleet of Boeing 737-800 aircraft, the same model involved in the crash, has been a reliable workhorse for short and medium-haul flights. The 737-800 is considered one of the safest and most widely used aircraft models globally, further underscoring the shock surrounding this incident. Aviation experts have pointed out that Jeju Air's impeccable record until now suggests the crash may have been the result of extraordinary circumstances rather than systemic negligence. However, the tragedy has inevitably raised questions about whether the airline's rapid growth and increasing flight frequencies may have strained its resources and oversight capabilities. The crash also highlights the inherent vulnerabilities in aviation safety protocols. While modern aircraft and advanced technologies have significantly reduced the risk of accidents, no system is infallible. Factors such as mechanical failures, human error, and external influences like weather conditions or bird strikes remain persistent challenges. This incident serves as a sobering reminder that even airlines with strong safety records must remain vigilant and proactive in addressing potential risks. Passengers and industry stakeholders are now closely watching how Jeju Air responds to this crisis. The airline's handling of the aftermath, ranging from support for victims' families to transparency in the investigation, will play a critical role in rebuilding trust and confidence. Additionally, aviation regulators in South Korea and internationally are likely to scrutinize Jeju Air's operational practices to ensure compliance with the highest safety standards. For an airline that has long prided itself on its safety record, the tragedy of Flight 178 is a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between operational success and the uncompromising priority of passenger safety. 9. Investigation and accountability. In the wake of the crash, a comprehensive investigation has been launched to determine the exact cause of the disaster. Jeju Air and Boeing, the manufacturer of the ill-fated 737-800 aircraft, are cooperating fully with South Korean authorities and international aviation experts. The investigation is expected to be a meticulous and multifaceted process, involving the analysis of flight data, cockpit voice recordings, maintenance records, and eyewitness accounts. Authorities have stated that they are exploring all possibilities, with a particular focus on mechanical failure, weather conditions, and external factors such as the suspected bird strike. Initial findings suggest that a malfunction in the landing gear may have played a critical role in the crash. However, investigators are cautious about drawing conclusions without thorough evidence. The black boxes recovered from the wreckage are expected to provide crucial insights into the moments leading up to the crash. These devices, which include the Flight Data Recorder, FDR, and Cockpit Voice Recorder, CVR, are designed to withstand extreme conditions and will be analyzed by experts at specialized facilities. The FDR will reveal technical details about the aircraft's performance, while the CVR will shed light on the pilot's actions and communications during the critical moments of the flight. Weather conditions at the time of the crash have also come under scrutiny. Reports indicate that heavy rain and low visibility were present in the vicinity of Muan International Airport on Sunday morning. Such conditions can pose significant challenges for pilots, especially during landing. Investigators are examining whether these adverse conditions exacerbated the suspected mechanical issues or created additional complications that contributed to the disaster. The possibility of a bird strike is another key focus of the investigation. Bird strikes, while relatively common in aviation, can cause severe damage to aircraft engines and systems if the birds are large or strike critical components. In this case, a bird strike warning was issued shortly before the plane attempted to land, raising questions about whether the pilots were aware of the risk and what actions, if any, were taken to mitigate it. Jeju Air and Boeing face intense scrutiny as the investigation unfolds. Both companies have pledged full cooperation and transparency, emphasizing their commitment to uncovering the truth and preventing future incidents. Jeju Air's CEO has publicly expressed deep regret over the tragedy, offering condolences to the victims' families and promising comprehensive support. The airline has also vowed to implement any necessary changes to its operations based on the investigation's findings. Boeing, too, is under pressure to address concerns about the reliability of its 737-800 model. While the aircraft has an excellent safety record overall, this crash adds to a series of incidents involving Boeing planes in recent years, prompting calls for closer examination of the manufacturer's design and maintenance standards. The South Korean government has taken a proactive role in ensuring accountability and transparency. Acting President Choi Song-mok has emphasized the need for a thorough and impartial investigation, pledging that no effort will be spared in uncovering the truth. Aviation regulators are working closely with international bodies, such as the International Civil Aviation Organization, FAA, and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, to ensure compliance with global standards. For the families of the victims, the investigation represents a critical step toward closure and justice. Advocacy groups have already begun calling for greater accountability in the aviation industry, urging airlines and regulators to prioritize passenger safety above all else. The crash of Flight 178 is a stark reminder of the complexities and risks inherent in modern air travel. As investigators work to piece together the events that led to this tragedy, the global aviation community is left grappling with the urgent need to address vulnerabilities and reaffirm its commitment to safe skies. Aviation safety in 2024, a year of alarming incidents. The tragic crash of Jeju Air Flight 178 at Muan International Airport has cast a grim spotlight on the state of global aviation safety in 2024. This year has witnessed a troubling series of aviation accidents across the globe, prompting industry leaders, regulators, and safety experts to reassess existing protocols and address emerging challenges. From Brazil to Kazakhstan and Nepal, the frequency and severity of incidents have raised pressing questions about the effectiveness of current safety measures and the impact of external factors like climate change and technological advancements on aviation. The broader context of 2024 aviation accidents. The aviation industry, often hailed as one of the safest modes of transportation, has faced an unusually turbulent year in 2024. While air travel continues to grow in popularity and accessibility, the rise in incidents has highlighted vulnerabilities in the system that require immediate attention. In March, a domestic flight in Brazil ended in tragedy when a twin-engine turboprop crashed into a residential neighborhood near Sao Paulo. Preliminary investigations revealed a combination of mechanical failure and pilot error, resulting in 62 fatalities, including residents on the ground. The incident shocked the nation and reignited debates about the safety of smaller regional aircraft operating in densely populated areas. Similarly, in April, a Kazakh Airlines flight experienced a catastrophic engine failure shortly after takeoff from Almaty International Airport. The pilots managed to guide the plane back to the airport, but the hard landing caused significant structural damage, resulting in the deaths of 47 passengers. The incident underscored the importance of regular maintenance checks and raised questions about the quality of spare parts used in older aircraft. Nepal, a country already known for its challenging mountainous terrain and high accident rate, suffered yet another aviation tragedy in May. A small chartered plane carrying 19 passengers, including several foreign tourists, crashed into a hillside during heavy fog. Investigators attributed the crash to poor visibility and inadequate navigation aids in the region, further highlighting the need for better infrastructure in developing nations. These incidents, along with the Jeju Air tragedy, have fueled growing concerns about the state of global aviation safety in 2024. Factors contributing to the rise in incidents. Several factors have been identified as potential contributors to the uptick in aviation accidents this year. Aging aircraft fleets. Many airlines, particularly in developing countries, continue to operate aging fleets that are more prone to mechanical failures. While newer models boast advanced safety features, their high costs often limit widespread adoption. Climate change and adverse weather. Extreme weather events, exacerbated by climate change, are posing increasing challenges to aviation safety. Turbulence, wind shear, and unexpected storms have become more frequent, complicating flight operations and endangering both passengers and crew. Increased air traffic. With the global rebound of the aviation industry post-pandemic, air traffic has surged to pre-2020 levels. Congested skies and overburdened air traffic control systems can lead to miscommunications and errors, increasing the likelihood of accidents. Pilot shortages and fatigue. The demand for qualified pilots has outpaced supply, leading to longer working hours and fatigue among existing crew members. Fatigue has been identified as a significant risk factor in aviation safety, impairing decision-making and reaction times. Technological over-reliance. While automation has revolutionized aviation, over-reliance on technology can lead to a lack of preparedness in manual operations during emergencies. Several incidents in 2024 have involved pilots struggling to regain control when automated systems failed. Global reactions and calls for reform. The alarming series of incidents in 2024 has prompted strong reactions from governments, aviation authorities, and industry stakeholders worldwide. The International Civil Aviation Organization, rather than data and facts, has convened an emergency summit to address the issue, bringing together experts to discuss strategies for improving safety standards and fostering global cooperation. One of the key proposals under consideration is the introduction of stricter maintenance regulations for aging aircraft. Experts argue that mandatory retirement ages for certain models, coupled with incentives for airlines to invest in newer fleets, could significantly reduce the risk of mechanical failures. Additionally, efforts are being made to enhance training programs for pilots and crew members. The aviation industry is exploring virtual reality and simulator-based training to better prepare pilots for handling emergencies, particularly those involving adverse weather or system failures. Governments in regions prone to extreme weather conditions are also being urged to invest in advanced meteorological equipment and infrastructure. Improved forecasting tools and better communication between airlines and weather agencies could help mitigate risks associated with climate incidents. Public perception and industry challenges. The increase in aviation accidents has understandably shaken public confidence in air travel. Passengers are growing more cautious, often researching airlines' safety records before booking flights. Social media has amplified the visibility of these incidents, with graphic images and videos fueling fears and sparking debates about accountability. For the aviation industry, the challenge lies in addressing these concerns while maintaining operational efficiency and affordability. Airlines face the dual pressure of ensuring safety and meeting the demands of a rapidly growing market. Balancing these priorities requires substantial investments in technology, training, and infrastructure. Efforts that may strain resources, particularly for low-cost carriers. Looking ahead, ensuring safer skies. Despite the challenges, aviation remains one of the safest forms of transportation, with accidents occurring in less than 1 in a million flights. The tragedies of 2024 serve as a stark reminder of the continuous effort required to maintain and improve safety standards. In the aftermath of the Jeju Air crash and other incidents, the global aviation community is coming together to address systemic issues and implement reforms. Key areas of focus include enhanced safety protocols, updating and standardizing safety measures to address modern challenges, including climate change and technological integration, improved oversight, strengthening regulatory frameworks to ensure compliance with international standards, particularly in regions with limited resources, public awareness campaigns, educating passengers about safety procedures, and fostering trust in the aviation system. The lessons learned from 2024's tragedies will undoubtedly shape the future of aviation safety. Through collaboration, innovation, and vigilance, the industry can honor the memory of those lost by striving for safer skies and a renewed commitment to protecting lives.